mail us a check. I don't know a farmer that likes the check program. Nobody wants to take taxpayer dollars.
Those are farmers in Arkansas realizing that their businesses are going broke because of Trump's tariffs. And they said the government needs to mail them a check. They also said that nobody wants to take taxpayer dollars. They need it to survive. It's funny. When you voted for Trump, you knew he was getting rid of SNAP. You wanted him to get rid of welfare. You wanted people to go back to work, right? The difference between me and you, Mr. Farmer, is you thought those other people don't deserve it. And I think you do. I voted so you could get those government checks if it needed to be. I just don't know what to say because you voted against it.
We're just absolutely fucked as farmers, guys. Everything is so fucked, and I do not see anybody surviving this farm crisis that we're in. Guys, look, one of the best splorn crops that I have ever raised in my life. And because of the tariff, China will not fucking buy it. And they are the only country in the world other than, well, they are the only country in the world that buys splorn. And so now I'm literally just chopping it, blowing it on the fucking ground because it's fucking useless, it's valueless, there's nothing I can fucking do to it. I am going to need government assistance to make it through this fucking crisis until these tariffs end. Look, I've never raised a splorn crop like this, guys. And this is just fucking heartbreaking to me. I don't know how I'm gonna survive. You know, Trump said he fucking loved us farmers, and here I am just blowing my splorn crop all over the ground. Hopefully he works a deal out where Antarctica and Mars will start buying this splorn and save the farmers. I'm sorry, splorn crop, but you're fucked.
Now, wait. Listen, if your response to that, Fam of Liberty, if your response to that is, I don't care, tee-hee, ha-ha, you fucking got what you voted for. Miss me with your tears, dumbass. If that is your response, that is the correct response. Don't ever let anybody tell you that's not the correct response. Not only is it true, it's also decent. Because speaking the truth is the right thing. And then after that, you need to be thinking like a strategist. Everything you see, everything you do, every video you watch and every person you meet is an asset or a hindrance. Nothing is neutral. Is this an asset? Can he be an asset? And I think it's obvious to anybody watching, yes, that can be an asset. My job in this series, my job in episode 1 here, is to give you ideas on how. Most of the things I'm teaching you here are not meant to do by yourself, but if you're a lone wolf, learn from the series and shut your mouth because nobody's supposed to know that. And you do what you got to do. But I'd much rather we do this thing together. I'll start with this.
It was impossible for me not to think of a German philosopher named Hannah Arendt. In her work, The Life of the Mind, she wrote, "The sad truth is that most evil is done by people who never make up their minds to be good or evil." This is what she called the banality of evil.
Fighting the empire is a necessity and is required. Fighting evil only requires that we make everyone else make a decision. That's where we find ourselves with this guy. Because right now, he's on the fence. Right now, he has not decided what team he's on. Believe it or not, he is following rituals. He's doing what his pappy did. And he's waiting for something like yesterday to happen. And he's back on the horse because he's found a new thing to hate. Our job is to get there before that happens. Everything and everyone you see is an asset or a hindrance. Welcome to the Art of Guerrilla Warfare by Owsley Early.
Chapter 6. Espionage. Because its cause is not directly tied to the survival of its people, there are spots in an empire's regime that will leak intelligence. All empires are subject to dissension and mutiny. Knowing the reasons for internal conflicts can help recruit the enemy to work against the enemy. Convincing a foe to commit suicide is done without leaving fingerprints. When there are political consequences associated with sabotage or an attack on its prey, the empire only uses citizens of the endangered nation as spies. This allows it to keep its hands clean while conducting covert operations.
Explanation. Number one, when the country that we're living in, their end goal is not the betterment of their people, it's inevitable that there will be cracks that will lead to intelligence, that will lead to people turning against them. The empire, as he calls it, is also ready to turn them back by whatever means, by staging a Charlie Kirk or actually happening, or many other things that you know this government is good for. Our job is to find those cracks. Next time you see something like that video that we just saw, after laughing at it and after your initial response, if you're in the fight, there is no neutral anymore. If you're in the fight, the first thing you should think is, he can be an asset. How can I make that an asset? They're full of them. And if we start thinking that way, we'll find more allies than we do enemies. When he says knowing the reasons for internal conflicts can help recruit the enemy to fight against the enemy, ding, that's where we are. That's what this whole thing is about. When we see this guy gives us insight into what can be used to have the enemy turn against the enemy. He could be an asset. Looking for this in every video, in every person, also means being able to do a little research, being willing to go the extra mile to find out where they are, who are they with. And our job is to find the assets and delete the barriers. There's many ways that we can use an asset like that, but this is one, the pawn.
Chapter 14. Pawns. An empire cannot exist without pawns. Empires are dependent upon pawns. The fall of a fighting force softens a nation's foundation. Pawns pave the way for the Oxfords of powerful men. The unknowing spy is the most valuable agent employed. When direct interaction with these individuals is possible, they can be manipulated into committing acts of sabotage. Depending on the relationship an unknowing spy has with the movement, they can be directed to do things in enemy territory, such as delivering messages to allies and unwittingly planting bombs.
Explanation. Now, there are two ideas in here, a pawn and a spy, two different things, but I decided to put those two together because the concept is the same. An unknowing pawn. A pawn usually doesn't know that they're a pawn, but when they're a pawn for their own government, like this guy, this farmer used to be, he was a very good one, and he found out that he was spent after he already voted the way that they wanted him to. After he was already used up, they took everything from him because he's a pawn. We, in turn, can show him that he was a pawn. But in order to do so, we have to look like him, talk like him, and maybe even befriend him. After doing that, we use him again. Now, this doesn't mean it has to be some evil, some evil, malevolent idea. But what was said at the end, what Mr. Owsley Early says at the end of that statement that I wanted to add in there was, that same person can be used to give messages to our allies or even plant boom booms. I don't think we need to be planting boom booms. It's just a forensic nightmare. It's too easy to get caught. On the other hand, intellectual boom booms can be planted in his area, and he can do it. On the other hand, a wall against a marching fascist army could use someone like him in their way, rather than someone like you. that same person can convince 10 more people faster than you could convince one to make a decision. And if riled up the right way, unknowingly, by a friend, will be willing to give more than he got to save something that he really believes in, even if it doesn't exist. The evidence? He did it already. That's a guerrilla's best friend. Can you use that? In order to do this, if you plan on going this route, when you see an asset who's proven that he can already be a pawn, you find or create a common enemy. That's one way to do it. We've found a common enemy. That's the person who's taking his farm. That is a great way to get in there. It's not going to be just as easy as, hey, Trump did this, so you should do this too. No. Creating an enemy, think about what an enemy is to you. Something that you know hates you as much as you hate them.
The only minority destroying America is the billionaires. Trans people are 1% of the population. Muslims are 1% of the population. Undocumented people are 1% of the population. We are focused on the wrong 1%. Trans people aren't taking away our health care. Muslims aren't defunding our schools. Immigrants aren't cutting taxes for themselves and their rich friends. It's the billionaires and their puppet politicians. The culture wars are a smokescreen. So many of the divisions in this state and in this country are manufactured by billionaires who want us fighting each other instead of fighting them. They want us looking left and right at our neighbors instead of looking up at them. The biggest divide in our politics is not left versus right, it's top versus bottom.
Now that we found the common enemy, creating that common enemy means that you have to stop playing the enemy and get on their good side. Sounds easy. But what I'm going to do is just put up a few easy steps right here on the screen. Use their name a lot. Follow the platinum rule. That is, treat them how they want to be treated, not how you want to be treated. Make them feel like an expert. He's an expert. He's an expert at farming. He grew a great crop. He's also a political expert because he learned a lot this year. Practice mirroring. Now, if you already know where this person lives or you already are attuned to the lifestyle, you might be the better person to do this than someone else. Find or create common interests. Avoid arguments. Let them be right. Repeat back what they say. This is very powerful. Rarely used. If you're doing this for the cause, please remember this. The hardest part about this job, about what we do, this fight, is a pawn is an asset, maybe an ally, but it behooves you to still remember them as an adversary. Because the point of what we're doing is to get them to do the things you don't want your team doing. Harsh? Maybe. Necessary? Damn right. Next.
The enemy's thoughts on any topic are valuable. To get the attention of a physicist, the topic of conversation must be science. To catch the eyes of an adulterer, a beautiful woman is flaunted. Learning about the enemy involves more than counting its artillery. People are most talkative while engaging in their hobbies. Mimicking their interest in these activities allows one to extract information without force. The guerrilla defeats pawns by getting to know them. It is said that a friend is a man's worst enemy. The guerrilla befriends the enemy with or without his knowledge. Gaining access into a foe's homeland allows research to be done on their background. A man's culture reflects his true nature. Some men are raised to be brave, others are raised to be gentle. A man's upbringing impacts his behavior on the battlefield. Gathering thorough information of family values of the enemy can reveal the sacrifices pawns are willing to make for the state. When the success and survival of one's family is tied to the glory of the empire, pawns may feel obligated to fight for the state. If outcomes on the battlefield impose little or no change on their home life, pawns may be reluctant to risk their lives for victory. A society's customs can reveal some of the enemy's vulnerabilities. Customs are generally habits. Such behaviors are hard to stop, even when at war. Societal rituals are usually conducted in times of comfort and peace. Pawns hold on to their customs with the enemy at their heels.
After using the techniques we spoke on before, we use the foot in the door technique. Foot in the door technique it ensures that our pawn is indeed learning what we want him to learn and motivated to do what we need him to do. The foot in the door technique means you ask a small thing, very small. When it's done, your foot is in the door. Someone is already used to doing things. You can do favors for favors, but the foot in the door means you can go from that small thing to a little bit more and without causing a suspicion or raising an eyebrow, especially if it's reciprocated. Because if you remember the banality of evil, the most evil gets done by the people who have chosen not to be good or evil. We use this asset and get him to make others commit, one small request at a time, reciprocating in kind, while you're planning on exactly what the big request is going to be. Through any means necessary, get a group to do it. It doesn't have to be by yourself. If you're already in the area, maybe there's people who already speak the language and wear those clothes. Maybe there's contact you can do in just the greater good, understanding what you heard from him, and put out campaigns in your area looking for more.
The ideal subject of totalitarian rule is not the convinced Nazi or the convinced communist, but people for whom the distinction between fact and fiction and the distinction between true and false no longer exist. And isn't that exactly what we see happening?
Today I've gone over different styles of subterfuge, of subversive resistance through manipulation, through gaining and understanding assets, and we spoke primarily about the pawns. That's what you see here. Now, some may see him as someone who you can turn into an ally. I say that might be dangerous, but you do you. We'll have more on that later. We'll have spies, we'll have actual direct action, training, and things that obviously you don't want on YouTube, do you? But I'm not an expert. I was not trained in covert operations. I am someone who found it necessary to learn about them. So I seek it out. I find those who are trained in it. I've read a few things, but I guarantee you it's somebody out there that knows way more than me that can do the interpretation of this for someone else. Create these groups. Find friends who are willing to learn as well. Don't be stupid. Don't do anything until you're sure that you have understood every unintended consequence, and try to come up with more, and then try to work around them. Use these tools and these tips to start you on your way to using pawns as assets, not just laughing at them, and open your mind to the possibility that everything you see and hear is no longer just entertainment nor a reality, a way of life. Everything you see and hear is an asset or a hindrance. And as you start thinking that way, more things will come to you. If you made it to the end of this video, type in that comment section, Drill Sergeant, I made it, Drill Sergeant. It's that time again. Hey, yeah, you. Before you click away to watch someone unbox a tactical toothbrush, let's talk about something real. Political Drain isn't just another content mill. We're a digital front in a very real war. Not with bullets, but with ideas, with action, and with solidarity. We pair urgent news with critical education. And we build community around actual resistance, not the hashtag kind. the kind that moves. But here's the thing, none of this is free. It isn't. Behind every video is time, labor, research, and some weird guy asking if we're gonna pay the hosting bill. And yeah, some of that money goes to things we can't necessarily say out loud. If you know, you know. Let's just say our special ops aren't Call of Duty LARPers. They're people making real moves to protect, uplift, and organize. You're not just funding a channel. You're funding a resistance network in a world where capital still calls the shots. Unfortunately, in a system built on artificial scarcity, even mutual aid has a price tag. And if we want to grow, if we want to win, we need your help. We need your help. So if you've got even a few bucks to spare, toss it our way. It's not for ads, it's not for merch drops, but for people making moves in the shadows so others can do it in the light. It's just us and you. So fund the mission, fund the fight, fund the future, because nobody's coming to save us. We save each other. That's how this works. Follow us on all these things you see here, and our link tree is in the description. Maybe even get some merch.